The Russell Wilson era in Pittsburgh has begun with a dominant victory, and now they get to host the New York Giants here in Week 8. My name is Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this Week 8 matchup between the New York Giants and Pittsburgh Steelers. But before we get into that, we have a goal of getting to 100 new subscribers for these Week 8 prediction videos going out. We've been able to hit that goal the past several weeks thanks to all of the new members to the Tracy Take. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win and why. So, Ryan, I thought the Pittsburgh Steelers could win. I will say I did not expect them to win that way. With Russ Wilson coming out, putting up 37 points. Defense played well, was able to create turnovers, got a little lucky on some of the turnovers that Garrett Wilson dropped. But at the same time that they were able to capitalize on that, nearly scored a defensive touchdown. Constantly in the backfield, slowing down Aaron Rodgers and company, especially too after a slow start in the first half. They gave up 15 points and then just shut them out the rest of the game. That offense was absolutely clicking. And I think it's kind of impressive too because there are some pretty serious injuries on that offensive line, like season-ending injuries, and they does not seem to be missing a beat, especially too against the Jets defense that is as one of the better defensive lines, in my opinion, in the league. Now, on the flip side, then too, the Giants, they are not having good offensive performance. So bad so that Daniel Jones got benched in their blowout loss against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's going to be an interesting just storyline to watch throughout the week. I'm pretty sure Brian Daboll has said Daniel Jones will be the starter moving forward, that he is their quarterback. But still something I think to monitor throughout this game and also throughout the rest of the season as well. With that, throwing it to you, what did you think of the Pittsburgh Steelers' performance? And then what do you think the Giants need to do to kind of correct this course of just poor football that they've been playing the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, right now the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing really good football. 5-2, they're right. I think they're tied for the lead in that division with the Baltimore Ravens at the moment. So, like, they're a really good football team. But the thing that is like so impressive is, like, they have superstars in TJ Watt, and like I would say Najee Harris is one of the top running backs in the league. George Pickens is a good wide receiver, bit of a diva at the position, but nothing Pittsburgh fans aren't used to coming from Antonio Brown to now. But I like they do it in such a like methodical way. Like they play good defense. They got some turnovers last night that were like one was like a one-handed catch that looked like it bounced off Garrett Wilson, and the other one literally did bounce off Garrett Wilson and into a Steelers defender's arms. So like they take advantage of those. They go down. They run the football well. They don't make mistakes on offense, and like they play good defense. And like at the end of the game, they just outpace teams. Like they 32-15 or 35-15.
It was 37-15.
37-15.
Yeah.
And so like there wasn't a moment where like I didn't feel like the Jets were like totally outclassed. It was just at the end of the game, they more than doubled their score just because they played good fundamental football. And I feel like that's just kind of been the Steelers' recipe under Mike Tomlin is like, we're just not going to beat ourselves. We're going to capitalize on the mistakes that they make. And it's worked for them for a long time. So they're doing that again this year at a really high level. And I think you look at the Giants and they're kind of the opposite of that, where they have hurt themselves and they have made those mistakes, even though this is a pretty good Giants defense. This offense, while they don't have Saquon Barkley anymore, Malik Neighbors is a really explosive receiver. Devin Singletary is having a good season for them. I know Devin Singletary missed a few games there with injury, but still, like they seem to have figured out some of the offensive line woes that they were having last year. And what I mean by that is they're not the absolute worst offensive line we've seen in the last 50 years in the NFL. They're probably still below average, but it's still improved. So it's definitely an interesting mix of teams here, because in reality, I could see the Giants winning this game. Now, I don't think that they're going to be my pick, but they have the talent to go out and win this game.
Yeah, I'll get to the Giants here in a second, but kind of talking about what you're talking about with Pittsburgh. And the thing for me is it's almost just looking at how this game ended, because it was 23-15 and the Jets missed a field goal. And then this is where I think the Steelers they just grinded the will away from this Jets team. After that missed field goal, it was 23-15, so still one possession game. Then they went on an 11-play, 75-yard touchdown drive. And then Jets were moving the ball, turnover on down, so 30-15, and the game's pretty much over by then. It's still sometime. And then they had a 13-play, 75-yard drive, like the same thing. It took 7.5 minutes off the clock. Those two drives alone took off 13 minutes off of the clock and just grinded them away. They had, I think, 36 rushes. 36 rushes against this team, and they were just that's the type of Pittsburgh Steelers brand of football. I think that the NFL seen for decades, and it was impressive to see, especially to kind of consider, that, as I mentioned earlier, this Jets defense is, especially the front seven, one of the better ones I think in the league, led by Quentin Williams. And so, curious to see how they end up doing here as well, going up against a Giants defense who is also the Giants have a solid defense also with Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence as well. I think maybe some things left to be desired in the secondary, but this front seven can cause them some fits. They're fortunate enough, though. The Giants' offense, though, is struggling a lot. They do have some star power, like with I think Malik Neighbors is obviously going to be one of the better receivers in the league. I like that Tyrone Tracy, Devin Singletary player. Tyrone Tracy Jr., you're welcome on the show. Welcome on the Tracy Take at any point. Invitation's always open. But then, the quarterback play's got to be improved, but also, too, Andrew Thomas is done for the season after having I think it was Lafrenzic surgery as well on his foot. And that loss was definitely noticed as well, giving up 8 sacks against the Philadelphia Eagles, who also have a good front seven, yes. But that's going to be the big difference in the game.
It's a Liz Frank injury, not a Lafrenzic. Yeah, it's a Liz Frank fracture. Yeah, sorry. I was like, you said it, and I was like, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I made up an injury there. So you heard it here first by Dr. Tyler Tracy on the Tracy Take. What's it called? Liz Frank?
Yeah, it's a Liz Frank injury. It's a Liz Frank fracture.
Well, we all learned something new today. Even though I'm sure there's probably the tens of viewers that are going to watch this probably already knew that pronunciation. But anyways, I digress. His loss was absolutely noticed, and so I think that's going to be the big difference overall for this Giants team, even just moving forward throughout the season. Is last year they had one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and then now losing Andrew Thomas, who was playing well. I think that's going to have a big impact overall, because if you look at this Giants team, they've given up 22 sacks already on the season, third worst in the league so far. I think it's only going to be getting worse as well as they go up against the Pittsburgh Steelers and TJ Watt, who I think are going to have. They could potentially have another 8 sacks as well. Daniel Jones might want to get benched because he's just going to be getting sacked all the time. So, and that's kind of like moving into my predictions is I just think the Steelers are just going to be the more consistent team. As you talked about, they have one of the best head coaches in the league. We'll have to see how Russell Wilson keeps on doing. But once again, though, I think is what we've seen from him in his career, though. If they are that really effective run first team as well, and then he's got a great deep ball receiver in George Pickens, and he's got a solid tight end in Pat Freiermuth. They have a couple other good role players as well that he can throw to. If you look at this, he was able to connect with Calvin Austin. Darnell Washington had 4 catches, and so he's a nice big target. That'd be kind of crazy if they got him going down in the red zone with how well that they can move the ball. So I just think that they're going to be good playing with the lead. And so if they get behind it all, I'm going to be curious. We kind of saw that with Justin Fields a little bit when they got behind. That's not really their brand of football. But with how effective that defense is and how well they can run the ball first, and unless they get really far behind really quickly, I think they're going to be able to stay in almost every single game. And so in this game here, I think they're going to shut down Daniel Jones and that offense real quickly. Might struggle a little bit at first, something similar to what we saw with the Jets to kind of get the ball rolling. But by the second half, I think once again, they're just going to break their will and just going to be grinding them into a pulp, just run after run after run. So Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win this one. I'm going to say 31-13.
Okay. Yeah, I think Pittsburgh's going to win this one. I think kind of the same thing with the Jets game. I probably won't feel until the fourth quarter that like the Giants are going to be like totally outclassed. But they're going to have a 2-score lead going into the fourth quarter. Then the Giants are going to have to start taking risks, and mistakes are going to start happening, I think. And that to me, I think, is just like how the Steelers are going to beat, especially teams like the Giants that are going to give away a few possessions. So I'll go 35-17, and But I think it'll be a not so close game. So
Perfect.
let's go ahead. Let's wrap this one up here. We are both taking the Steelers in this matchup. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the New York Giants? Will it be the Pittsburgh Steelers? And on that, we'll see you guys next time.